Excellent. Let's do it.
Live from the center of the earth, Girth.
Thank you, Steve, for taking some time and talking to me. You have a talk, Total Eclipse of the Art, at Camp Festival 2017 in Calgary. And it has many 80 themes. I just want to know, what are some of your favorite 80s bands?
Ooh, it's a good...
I know we're starting off hot, right?
Yeah, I know. Coming right into the meat of the content. Well, I tried to include a few of them in there. Obviously, Guns N' Roses makes an appearance. We get Wham is in there, which is I think there's no it's a not used that much, but I think an essential for anyone's 80s library.
Yeah.
And then there's try to stick to the classic rock. Anything within that, that's sort of my thing. Get the Bowie. I think we had Bowie in there. Yeah.
Nice. Are you listening to music when you write your daily haikus?
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm usually trying to capture an Instagram story when I write my daily haikus. It's sort of the inspiration for those haikus or wherever I'm traveling, what I'm doing. I tend to be on the road a lot, so they're good fodder for content.
What about when you're actually creating some of the work that you do for Current Studios? Are you listening to music then? Is that influencing you at all, or are you just kind of...
Yeah, no, I always have music on, or I'm in a public place. I tend to either work in the office with music, or go to, like right now, I'm in a pub at a Rockefeller Center, and you can hear the horns, but they have a decent soundtrack, and it allows me to sort of zone out and think of whatever experience we're going to come up with next. I don't work well in silence.
That's part of the creative journey that you talked about in your talk, right? The Total Eclipse of the Art. Do you want to just kind of expand a little bit on what that talk is and what are some of the themes and some of the ideas?
Sure. The talk itself is based off of this sort of concept that there's an emotional process to create everything. So it's sort of a whirlwind journey of starting in this sort of honeymoon phase and going through, as you go through the project and it becomes difficult, or there's the regular things in communication with regards to expectations, or maybe things don't go as planned, and you have to sort of not fight your way through it, but really make an effort to kind of stay on top of it emotionally, but also in terms of tasks in order to come out the other side. And, most of the time, I mean, in my capacity at Current Studios or really anywhere else, is that you have to trust that the process is going to end up in a positive way. So when I saw this the first time, this started like this, the creative process of creating anything. It kind of reminded me of the story of human relationships and love. So that's where the tie-in to Total Eclipse of the Art came, which is this idea that the line from it, every now and then I fall apart, is definitely a moment in every project where you feel like you're not sure you're going to get through it, and you need to you just lean into it and power through it.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy, he has a great motto, or great, I guess, like standard or whatever for the Amazon team. It's unflexible vision, but flexible in the details.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I can kind of, obviously, I mean, everyone can echo that. That's Jeff. I mean, he's a master. But in the talk, it sort of talks, the premise is that as you begin this journey, it's heavy on the outcome and few on details. So you try to align everybody with the grander vision and what you want to achieve, so that everyone's focused on that, rather than signing rules of like how it must be done, because it's not only unfair to the team, but it's almost impossible to predict what is the thing that won't go as planned.
And how do you maintain an optimism then? I know might be part of the talk, but it's like, how do you maintain that optimism then when, especially like as you said, things may not go according to plan, or things may even just go completely wrong? There's a lot of variables in the creative operation, no matter what kind of work you're doing.
Yeah, I think the optimism comes from, let's just boil it to 2 points. I think one of them is you need to expect that it's going to get bad. I think that it's hard to be optimistic when you're blindsided by either like a tragedy or just something not going your way, or continuous days of just frustration. But if you allow yourself to know that that's going to happen and be comfortable with it coming, it's easier to maintain an optimistic outlook, because it's just part of that process. And then the second point that sort of helps you get through it, I think, is this idea of humor and family. And again, that's, leaning on your friends and family outside of work, or within the work environment, or outside of your creative environment, and then And then a tool for me definitely is just to try to make light of it without being disrespectful, and obviously to the work or to your team, but to allow people to relax a little bit and know that, again, if you're able to kind of laugh at how crazy some things can get, it's easier to find a solution.
You mentioned friends and family. What about working with the client then? Does that also kind of give you some support in a sense? Or is it, I know you've had many different relationships with many different clients. So how does that relationship kind of feed into that optimism?
That's a good point. I mean, it's funny because I don't really address that because I think that, the client can be anything for a lot of different people, but that is probably the toughest point for someone to model, is because it's such a interpersonal relationship with the client, and understanding the way that they see these processes go, like they see the creative process, which for some clients there is no, the bridge between their work and the creative process they're going through might be too great for the type of empathy that you're seeking. But the working relationship, again, with clients, just like with the team, does come down to being able to understand each other, and in the face of, say, adversity or just frustration, being able to maintain a cool head takes perspective, and being able to give that to the client, or having a client that can give that to you, is definitely valuable.
And is the anxiety and the emotional roller coaster you're talking about, in terms of creation and in terms of setbacks and frustrations and flipping the table sometimes when things don't go right, is that different because you are working with a client versus than just, say, creating art or creating some sort of website or something just for yourself? Like, if you're writing a novel, you don't really have any other expectations, right? You just sit down and just kind of write the novel for yourself. But when you're working with a client, there's a whole set of expectations and rules and all kinds of things that are involved. And does that create kind of part of the stress and some of the anxiety?
I think it can. I think, though, a lot of the stress and anxiety comes from what we're trying to control. So I think if you were to remove the client environment, make it a personal project, like, let's say, writing a song or reading a book, or like the examples you mentioned, you still apply this pressure to yourself about what the outcome should be. You have an expectation of why you're writing that book or painting that picture, and you're going to apply. You likely will be unhappy with something that you started with, or you may rewrite a chapter or go back to it 1,000 times. Or you may burn through ideas and feel like you have none left, and then 4 days later have the one that takes you over the line. So I think that, in various scales, it doesn't, obviously if you're dealing with a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of personalities, it can be complicated, but I feel that the emotional journey is there for everybody no matter what.
And what about the physical journey? Because you went from Halifax to New York City.
Yeah.
Those are two different cities completely.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're amazingly complementing, because you get the energy of the fast pace of New York, and the exposure to sort of some crazy levels of work from the sheer number of people that are here, not just in your industry, but in anything. You're where you get to escape. I get to escape, or I had the opportunity to escape that with heading back to Halifax and being able to sit in our office there with our dev team, and looking out over the harbor and just having a breath, taking a moment. As I think, no matter what market, I mean, even New York, everyone leaves or tries to leave and head out to their sort of spot to get away from the city. You see in Toronto, Los Angeles, everywhere. And Nova Scotia just happens to be a place that's like that all the time. So you can, don't need to escape so much as just take a moment. So it's been an interesting ride so far.
Why New York City and not like LA or Chicago or something like that?
Well, we didn't have a destination in mind when we started the process of going, hey, we're doing a lot more work in the U.S. We did 90% of our work south of the border. So it was, we should be there. And I was traveling 300 flights, I think I did in 2 years. And then going, okay, if we're going to open an office, we do have clients in those three locations, actually, their primary markets is New York, Chicago, and LA. And for me, the unknown entity of, I've never opened an office that's been outside of the office I've worked in. It was a new thing for me. And then knowing that the time zone would be only 1 hour difference instead of 4 was the biggest factor, truthfully. It was, if we need access to our talent in Halifax, having them feel next door or a 1.5 hour flight away. It's a lot easier than taking a day trip on a plane to Los Angeles. I mean, maybe it would be in the plan in the future, but right now we're trying to get this all put together.
And when we talk about opening offices and stuff, we're talking about current studios. So
yes, we are.
When you want to give like a little breakdown of what Current Studios is, or like what your mission statement is, or what's your tagline, what's your pitch?
Sure. We are an experienced design company that connects the physical and digital world. So our focus is on technology and the creative use of technology in innovative ways. We just try to take things that are either in the process of being made or new to market and finding new uses for them. Like, this could be things like some of the artificial intelligence tools or some of the haptic sensors that are available, or augmented reality is, obviously a pretty hot topic right now.
Mm-hmm.
So those are, we work in these spaces to try to do something that either we haven't done before or that most consumers haven't, or the audience we're working with has not done before.
Yeah, I want to highlight a couple of the projects you've done because they stood out to me and I thought they were really cool. One of them was the Tribeca reactor.
Yeah.
Explain what that is, because it was super neat when I was watching the videos online.
Sure. So we partnered with J. Walter Thompson in New York City. This was right after we opened up our shop in Brooklyn, and the brief was kind of simple and beautiful. It was to create an artificially intelligent acting judge, so that people could see how they fared against some classic movies. And the slate was pretty clean for us to sort of look at what ways we could do that and how we could give an actual judging experience. So the Tribeca reactor was the outcome. It's like a 9-foot tall cabinet. Looks like an old video arcade game.
Yeah,
and
like a Pac-Man or Centipedes or something.
Yeah, just like that. And you're able to use a touch screen to select the classic scene, like Star Wars, or I think Harry Met Sally's in there. Dirty Dancing. There's a number of them. You pick the scene, and you have 3 chances to audition. And we use the depth sensing camera to track your face, the emotional state of your face against the original clip, as well as your hand gestures, the tone of your voice, and the delivery. So we basically, it's kind of like karaoke, but maybe a little bit more complex in terms of the inputs we're using. And we deliver you a score. And if you got above 96%, you got 2 free tickets to the festival. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like people had the time of their life. So yeah, they got the Dirty Dancing reference in there. And then the other one that was really neat was the NBA All-Star, the 2015, for the Bloomingdale's interactive window.
Yeah, that was a rapid project that we worked with NBA Entertainment directly here in New York. It was one of the first installations we've ever done where we physically had to go and make something. And yeah, it was just trying to get people into the excitement around All-Star Weekend. And I think it was in New York at the time. And these passersby could in February walk up to Bloomingdale's window and shoot some digital baskets and some hoops and really just sort of accumulate points here. The crowd roar, compete with each other, but it was largely just for fun. And
so, what is it that you're looking for when you get these types of projects, or like you mentioned, like the Tribeca brief? What is it that you're looking for, or what is it standing out to you, or like, oh, we got to get involved in this, or that sparks an idea?
Well, yeah, with both those projects you mentioned, one was that we had this, with NBA, it was a quick challenge to see if we could create a crowd interaction, or like people that are uninterested in the busy street of New York, to draw them into something. And trying to find a simple way to do that, and that was interesting for us then. And because we hadn't done it ourselves. And with Reactor, it was this idea of doing 3 things, which was we had the opportunity to make something, and meet some new partners within the city to do so. But we also got to write, sort of dabble into this sort of AI world, which was something we'd been toying with in our lab, but not something we had built. And then also just be on the ground to see how people interact with these things and learn from that, which is something that when we were only in Nova Scotia, we didn't have the opportunity to do, is see how the things we made were actually used and what people took from them. And I think it's made us a better shop.
You keep mentioning like toying with these devices or these apps or augmented reality, you keep mentioning like you're looking for the experiences that people are having, the reactions that they're having to these things. Is that part of the creative mentality, I guess, of what the work that you're doing, where you basically you want to create a playground and you just want to play with these toys, these digital toys?
Yeah, I mean, our interest, our team's interest is in just exploring all of that stuff. It's a lot of fun, to try to, can we create energy from sound waves, or can we, track an object in augmented reality in Central Park without any, any reference other than geography. I think, that's on the internal side. On the external side, it is truly just about, there are a number of ways to be memorable, I guess, and because we're sort of primarily in this commercial experience business where we're helping brands connect with people, we find that, everyone is looking for a break from the ordinary or what they're expecting. And we, our mechanism to do that is to try to use technology to deliver that in a unique way, but not make the technology the thing people think about. We want them to focus on the way that they played or interacted or just, experience that moment.
And so how do you divide your time then between like thinking about this stuff, working, creating, trying to even predict the future too, because this stuff is all changing. You mentioned like augmented reality.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of theories and ideas now kind of floating around with that, experiments. How do you balance your time working, dreaming, creating, and predicting?
That is something that I think I'll always be working at. I haven't yet found the balance is sort of driven by that you can, even knowing that there's that emotional process to create something, when you're in that process, you're in it. And my role is still to be in that, but also in a few other things at the same time. So that's something I definitely need to, that I continue to try to work on. But, it ends up being that for me, I think 20 to 30% of my day is spent in the thought process, which isn't like sitting in a room and not doing anything. It's thinking while I'm, heading to work or attending, a local college sort of technical fair to see what they're going, or a maker fair, or the events like camp, because I find all those things sort of feed what I need to be able to do my job and think the way I'm asked to. We rarely have 2 weeks to come up with a concept and how we deliver it. It's usually a matter of hours, days. So you almost have to sort of always be thinking of things, writing them down, so that you can easily refer to them when the time comes.
That makes sense. So do you have any cool projects coming up that you can talk about?
We are building I can't say it's fine, but we're building this sort of interactive game at an amusement park in Florida for kids. And it's not the one you're thinking of, but it's sort of a Pokemon Go type style of a game, which is a trend obviously right now, but in using a variety of other technologies for the integrated into the park rather than just in augmented reality. What else we have? Sort of there's a few interesting little perspectives. Another sort of large mixed reality installation that will be in early 2018. That is sort of a take on a classic board game, but with a bit more sort of novelty and interaction with people. But yeah, I can't talk too much about what we have planned.
You seem to kind of stay on the corporate side of the house, for lack of a better term, like the corporate side where like you work with a lot of clients, like I mentioned the NBA, Tribeca Film Festival. You've worked with like Marvel, HBO, a number of companies. Do you ever want to do something just creative, just for the sake of creative, like just an art installation of some kind or something like that, or like we have here in Toronto, the Nuit Blanche, those kind of things? Would you ever just want to?
That's a good point. So I think yes, I do, but I know our company always does. The people in our company want to, and we actually have there in Halifax. There's a night art festival of various installations and called Nocturne.
Something
it's
similar?
Called Nocturne there in Halifax, and we're actually doing an installation for that, which is just entirely driven by our creative team and our animation team there. We have some pretty awesome, talented people, and they came up with an idea and said, we'd love to be able to do this. It doesn't really have anything to do with our business. It's probably never going to be able to be used for clients, but we think it would be just cool to be able to take the time to do that and see how people respond to it. And That's a kind of an exciting thing. So I don't get the chance myself to do that too much. Again, outside of just like I play music and enjoy that, and I do some writing on occasion. But yeah, it's definitely everyone needs a creative outlet.
Mm-hmm. To kind of go full circle, how we started, then how did the talk go at Camp Festival in Calgary? What was the responses? Because that's one of the things you like to measure. You were saying, right? How people kind of interact and things like that. So the people kind of dig it.
I think so. So what was interesting is the room I was in was the smaller of the two rooms, and I think it fit 100 people or something. And what was nice about it is that I could see a lot of the faces around me, so I could feel that I was talking to people and seeing nods or seeing people see a slide and sort of laugh or relate to it. I mean, I think the reason why I try to choose a bit of a humorous subject to talk about these things that everyone takes us very seriously is so that I can gauge the reaction of the crowd while I'm talking. If there's nothing happening and no one is making a sound, then I know the content's probably not resonating with anybody. Mm-hmm. And it's not really about trying to be funny, but more about trying to get a reaction that can build that momentum of that group viewing experience of the talk. So I think it went well. I had a lot of good feedback after. I enjoyed it a ton and got to meet some awesome people.
Cool. Thank you, Steve, for taking some time and like giving us a break from the ordinary, and in some cases even giving us a break from reality. So
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you giving me a call.
Thank you.